Morning, Mountain Time, Monday, September 15th. The way I usually kind of structure my online coverage is that I'm a gun writer and I talk about guns and optics through the week as time allows, and I touch on politics over the weekend. I actually make a relatively concerted effort uh, to not dig into or follow the political stuff during the week. Very much simply because, politics is all-encompassing. If you let it, it will draw you in, and you'll have time for nothing else. And while I find the political stuff interesting and important, it's not how I want to live my life. To be blunt, that's not what I do. So, barring some new developments in the Charlie Kirk business or something else equally transformational coming up, I'm gonna shelve all that for a few days and go back to the usual coverage of guns and optics and the related things, as is always the case. If there's something particular you want me to cover, please put it in a comment. On the guns and optics side, yeah, as I mentioned yesterday morning, I was on my way to shoot a local PRS match, and I, as always, now have had a chance to think about it for a few hours. As I'm relatively new to shooting matches, I have no real I have no real expectations of doing well, which is okay. But what I want to do a little bit better every time. And for the first time in a little while, I'm actually relatively happy with myself. Not that my score shows it, my score still sucks. But there are a couple of things that happened, and one of them is that I did not feel lost at any stages. There are things I need to be doing better, particular shooting positions I need to practice, etc. But the positions that I did practice a lot, I actually did okay on. For example, shooting off a tripod and stuff like that. There is a couple of things where the wind kicked a couple of stations where the wind kicked my ass. Wind was a little rough yesterday, and there were a couple of stages where I did not score well for reasons I don't fully understand. Maybe lost my focus for a moment. It's something to work on. However, I didn't have any stages with 0 points, which for me was important because through the year, as I started getting a little bit better, I would be extremely inconsistent. I'd clean a couple of stages, then zero in a couple of stages, which I really want to avoid. I want my worst stages to be getting better, and they seem to be, which I'm pretty happy about. I went and looked a little bit at the printout we had with the course of fire, of how the stage is set up, and I had to do some soul searching. I walked away with a couple of conclusions. One is that I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and start practicing shooting with the tripod for rear support. I shoot pretty well with it, but I'm not very quick with it, and I have not really been practicing it. I sort of had it in my head that I just need to become really, really good just with shooting off of a single bag. And I've gotten a lot better at it, to be fair. But I just have to admit to myself that I am neither young nor limber. And there are some shooting positions that I just can't do on the clock in semi-reasonable comfort. And I am going to have to make sure I dedicate a little bit of practice toward running the timer and shooting with the tripod rear, changing positions, dragging the tripod with me, and all that sort of stuff. I'm not excited about it per se, but if I want to do better, that looks like it is a necessity. On the optics side, one really interesting thing, an unintentional thing that happened, this whole year I've been using my Leica J Pro AB Plus laser range finding binoculars. And for hunter style matches, something like that is an absolute necessity. For PRS style matches, you don't have to have a laser rangefinder, they give you distances. But either way, I forgot it at home. But since I got it home, I realized that I forgot them when I was almost there. I said so many uncomplimentary things about myself and moved on. When we got to the range where the match was, dug through this. I have this drawer in the back of my car with a bunch of stuff in it, And I found the binoculars that normally just live in my truck, and that's the Apex Summit Pro 12 by 50 binoculars. And that's 12-watt binoculars from Apex that have a reticle in them, but no laser rangefinder. I did have a handheld laser rangefinder. I also had the Vortex Razor 4000 GB with me, which I used to confirm the ranges, and that actually worked quite well. But one of the interesting things, because it was quite windy yesterday, one of the things I found extremely useful with the binoculars was that they give us the size of the plates in inches, but it was really nice to get a visual assessment confirmation of how big the plates we're shooting are in terms of milliradian, because when we hold for wind, we talk in milliradians. Being able to look at the plates with the binoculars, quickly estimate the width of them in milliradians, and get some idea of what my wind hold needs to be, proved to be unexpectedly useful. Also, simply from the standpoint, I spent a lot of time spotting for other people, watching their hits and misses. I will say that I think for these kind of competitions, at 12 by 50 with a laser rangefinder and a reticle would be awesome. I don't think such a thing exists. The closest is Electronics 12 by 42. Kinda would prefer somewhat larger objective with that much magnification, but that is what it is. If Leica were ever to make a Geovid Pro AB Plus like what I have, they've got the new LRF matrix screen out, first in the handheld laser rangefinder. I'm sure it's coming to the binocular. If they were ever to make a 12 by 50 version of that with a reticle in one barrel and laser rangefinder in another, I'd be all over that. That would be, I think, um, that would be the ultimate LRF binocular for matches. As is always the case, I've spent some time trying to glass handheld, and I'm just not steady enough to use 12 power very steadily. I had my Zeiss tripod with me. From a shooting standpoint, it's amazing, probably the best tripod I've ever used. But the way they did the clamp, it was not compatible with my binocular clamp that I had. So what I ended up doing is just taking a bag, popping it on a tripod, and glassing off of that. That worked beautifully. So that was, all of that worked out nicely. It also reminded me how nice of a binocular the Apex Summit Pro 12 by 50 is. It's not a very expensive one. It's $700-ish, I want to say, something like that. Originally, Apex said it was made in Japan, but I don't see any made in Japan markings on it. Based on the performance and the price, I would have to guess it's probably made in China somewhere. Do I care? No, not even marginally. It's a very nice binocular. It works well. I asked around some questions. People I asked say they think it's made in China. Whatever. It worked. I saved my ass yesterday and worked beautiful. Aside from that, I was still shooting my fix in 6.5 Creedmoor, as I mentioned elsewhere. I'm probably gonna transition and start shooting local matches with a couple of semi-autos I have because I want to get some experience shooting semi-auto matches. On shooting matches with a semi-auto rifle. I haven't done that, so that's coming next. The next match they have at the same range is their kind of hunter yearly thing. It's still going to be PRS style matches, but people will be bringing their hunting rifles, the 300 Magnums and stuff like that. Nothing too exotic, not 300 drums, but 300 PRCs and 7 PRCs and stuff like that. And I am hoping to borrow the Megafix from Cube and shoot that. That match is going to be in about a month. I think it's October 12th. What they'll do, they'll change the course of fire so that the shooting strings are not as long, so you don't destroy your barrel. Of 10 shots of 300 Win Mag and 90 seconds. So probably 4 or 5 shot matches for the most part, and that should get everybody tuned up properly for hunting season. I'm kind of honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to that. That should be entertaining. I'm gonna try to bring the Megafix, whichever one they're willing to lend me. They've been running Megafix prototypes all over the place with 7PRC, 28 Nosler, those kind of calibers, and those would be awesome. But I'll see what I can get my hands on. I've got a hunt coming up last week of October, in a bit over a month. I want to take two rifles with me. One is going to be my fix in 8.6 Blackout with March 1.5 to 15 by 42 on it. And another one hopefully will be the Megafix. If one is not available, I'll just bring my OG fix in 308. That gun is never failed, to be blunt. All right, so a couple of comments here. Clyde says, would love your thoughts on FFP Schmidt and Bender 313 by 42 meta. And your reviews to be extremely informative. So I have not tested it yet. Originally, when I talked to Schmidt, they were gonna loan me one of those for this actual hunt at the end of October. I sent them an email about 3 weeks ago, something like that, to see if one is available and never got a reply. So I'm gonna maybe I'll ping them one more time, maybe I'll leave it alone. It sounds like the production version of that scope is not here yet, so and I don't want to be testing a prototype. As soon as I'm able to get my hands on that scope, I will absolutely do a test. Senor Ivan Spiridonov says hello in Russian. Здравствуйте, Ivan. All right. Let's see. What other takeaways from the match can I offer? Not a ton. The pants that I've been using to shoot matches this whole year finally gave up the ghost on the very first stage. I tried to drop down on the ground really, really fast, and they ripped. So I have provided some unplanned entertainment for the group. Everybody found it hilarious. To be fair, so did I. I shot the rest of the match with my pants ripped from the belt uh, to all the way down to the knee. Thank God I do not go commando, so nothing X-rated happened. Not even NC-17, to be fair, more like rated R. Well, by modern standards, maybe just PG-13. But anyhow, that was unfortunate. Those were 511 XTU pants. They have the best designed, the most comfortable knee pads that I've ever seen on any tactical pants. So it is very unfortunate that mine gave up the ghost, but you know what? Yeah, I got almost a year, 6, 7 months of pretty hard use out of them. And I'm large, fat, and relatively athletic, so I put a lot of stress in clothing. I can't complain too much. The last I have on. All right. Unless there are any other questions on anything optical, anything else you wanted to touch on, I am going to wrap up for today. My first, I do have a day job. My first meeting starts in 18 minutes. So I will get cracking toward that. Okay. Let's see. In the meantime, what else we have? On the rifle scope side of things, we've got new scope from Delta, but I don't think they announced it yet. Kind of looks like a nice design. Improved reticle. I was very peripherally involved with the reticle. That I didn't design it. They asked me some questions about it. I offered some advice. But now that I've got it in the gun, I rather like it. So that's kind of promising. And I need to, hopefully I'm gonna do that tonight. I need to wrap up some stuff I'm doing on Armasight, a thermal clip-on and night vision clip-on. I have both of them here. So the plan is my wife has some sort of a meeting of the local women's group or something in our house tonight. So my plan is to make myself scarce in the evening, which works fine. I'm gonna head out to the range a little before sunset, get everything set up, and then do some pictures and run. I've spent some time with them, and I want to do a little bit more side by side. Spend a little bit more time with the thermal clip on and night vision. Mr. Nathaniel, any wind reading LiDAR rangefinders coming out like the Trigicon planned back in 2020? Hard to say. There are a couple of technologies around. There are a couple of companies claiming they're supplying stuff for the military that works really well. I haven't seen it. Generally speaking, the technology exists. Like through my day job, I have access to some stuff. The technology exists because wind farms use it, right? So, but it's relatively large and bulky. Being able to shrink it down to the size that can be easily handheld is fairly tricky. I know quite a few people have tried and made many claims, but I have not been able to ascertain whether those claims are indeed accurate. So it doesn't mean that nothing is coming. It just means that I'm not aware of anything that is small enough, inexpensive enough, and production worthy enough to make a difference for the consumer market, even the high-end consumer market. I looked at some patents and uh, I've looked at some patents and some academic work on the subject in the last several months. I think it has to be doable, but execution is not straightforward, especially on battery power. Some of this stuff has relatively significant computing requirements. It's one of those things that we'll have, we'll talk about AI, computing, etc., but the race is not there. The way we do this right now is a little bit of a brute force type approach. So the requirements on power are significant. And when we think of requirements on power, we're all worried that, those huge data farms that AI algorithms use won't have enough power, so we're investing in nuclear and all that sort of stuff. Well, that's one side of it. The other side of power is portable power. There is constant work on battery technologies. And again, this is not my field, so I am not privy to the biggest insights there. But from everything that I've seen so far, I am not aware of anything that will dramatically change the energy density of the batteries we all use, whether we're talking about batteries in our phones or batteries in electric cars. Toyota's made a fairly big push toward, and a few other companies have as well, toward what they call solid-state batteries, which have a good amount of promise. But if I understand this correctly, that will be more relevant for cars than for small portable devices. But they've been talked for a little while, and I'm not seeing them deployed in the field too much. We need to make a lot of stuff viable. We need both an improvement in energy density and a significant improvement in the speed of recharge. It looks like the speed of recharging is being addressed a little bit faster than energy density, but time will tell. All right. Thank you guys for sticking with me for this impromptu morning live stream. I am going to wish you all a good Monday and go get ready for my meeting. Thank you all and have a good day.